Have you ever witnessed a moment so powerful that it silenced an entire airplane? A moment that made even the coldest hearts melt. Stay with me till the end, because this story will restore your faith in humanity. And before we dive in, if stories about kindness and miracles warm your heart, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories that will move your soul. It was a long flight from New York to Cape Town, one of those flights where everyone just wanted peace, quiet, and a good movie. But peace wasn't on board that day. Because in first class, a billionaire's baby had been crying non-stop for hours. The child's name was Noah, barely 1 year old, with tears streaking down his chubby cheeks as his father, Richard Halden, tried everything to calm him. Richard was one of the world's youngest billionaires, a tech mogul, famous for his brilliance but infamous for his arrogance. He had everything money could buy: private jets, mansions, cars, everything except the one thing he truly needed that day: patience. Passengers began whispering and rolling their eyes. Flight attendants kept bringing warm milk, toys, and blankets, but nothing worked. Noah's cries echoed across the cabin, piercing through the hum of the engines. Richard looked exhausted. His shirt was wrinkled, his tie hung loose, and the pressure of people's stares only made things worse. He muttered under his breath, "Why won't he just stop?" Then came a gentle voice from the economy cabin, an elderly black woman wearing a faded floral dress and a small knitted shawl around her shoulders. Her face was soft, with lines that spoke of both struggle and wisdom. Her name was Miss Thelma Jackson, a retired nurse traveling back home to South Africa after visiting her daughter in New Jersey. She slowly walked up the aisle, steadying herself with the seats as passengers looked at her curiously. When she reached first class, the flight attendant tried to stop her, whispering, "Ma'am, this is restricted." But Miss Thelma just smiled kindly and said, "I'm not here for the seats, dear. I'm here for the baby." She turned to Richard and asked softly, "May I?" At first, he frowned, confused. "Excuse me. The child," she said, her voice calm and sure. "May I hold him for a moment?" Richard hesitated. He didn't know this woman. She looked poor, her hands rough, her shoes worn. The kind of person who probably never sat in first class her whole life. But something in her eyes, that deep, nurturing warmth, made him pause. Finally, he nodded. "Fine, go ahead." The entire cabin watched as Miss Thelma gently lifted baby Noah into her arms. The child was still crying, his tiny fists flailing. But within seconds, she began humming, a low, soothing African lullaby. Her voice was soft but steady, filled with something pure. It wasn't just a song, it was a prayer. The baby blinked, hiccuped once, and then stopped crying. The plane fell silent. Everyone froze: passengers, flight attendants, even Richard. The billionaire who couldn't buy a moment of silence had just witnessed peace delivered by the hands of a stranger. Miss Thelma kept rocking Noah, humming the melody until the boy's breathing slowed and his eyes closed. He fell asleep against her chest, clutching the corner of her shawl. Tears filled Richard's eyes. He wasn't used to feeling small, but at that moment, he did. How did you do that?" he asked quietly. Miss Thelma smiled. "Sweet child. Babies don't just cry because they're hungry or tired. Sometimes, they cry because they can feel our hearts. And your heart, son, it's heavy." Her words hit him harder than any boardroom insult ever had. For the first time in years, Richard felt his walls crumble. He whispered, "I lost his mother 6 months ago. I thought I could handle it alone." The old woman nodded gently. "You've been trying to fill a wound with things that can't heal it. But this baby doesn't need your riches, son. He just needs your rhythm, your love." The flight attendants were wiping their eyes. Even the passengers who'd been complaining minutes earlier sat quietly, ashamed of their impatience. For the rest of the flight, Miss Thelma stayed beside them. She taught Richard how to hold Noah differently, how to rock him in rhythm with his heartbeat, and how to hum that same lullaby. She told him stories of raising 5 children through poverty and loss, working night shifts as a nurse to feed them, never once giving up hope. When the plane landed, Richard didn't let her go. He insisted on walking her to baggage claim. He offered her money, a lot of it, as a thank you. But she refused. "I don't need your money, Mr. Halden," she said kindly. "Just promise me you'll be present. That's what your boy needs." Richard was speechless. But as Miss Thelma turned to leave, he pressed something into her hand, a small folded card. She didn't look at it until later, when she was home in Cape Town. Inside was a handwritten note. Greater than, you healed more than my son today. You healed a father's heart. Thank you, Richard and Noah Halden. And beneath the note was a certificate, granting full funding to rebuild the small community clinic she'd once worked in, the one that had shut down years ago due to lack of support. Miss Thelma broke down in tears. The poor black elderly woman, who'd given comfort to a crying baby, now had the means to comfort hundreds more. And from that day forward, Richard and Noah visited her every year, calling her Grandma Thelma. It was a moment that started with crying, but ended in connection. Proof that sometimes, the richest souls wear the simplest clothes. So if you believe in the power of kindness, compassion, and humanity that crosses all barriers, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a little light today. Because just like Miss Thelma said, sometimes, it only takes one heartbeat of love to quiet the world.